So here we are.
We can't do those.
Can we bring this to the middle? Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Let's bring it right here.
Do we have anybody that's 6'6" that comes in the back?
I like that.
Not quite. 6'2", is that all right?
Thank you.
So Gooseberry Landing, the county council has asked us to keep the landing at Gooseberry as far as where we'll be coming in as far as landing on the mainland. Right now, the lease area is this one right here. This is where we are currently. Any of you or anyone can see that. When we were working with the Lummi Nation in the development of their marina, which would be all through this area here, one of the things that we agreed on with the Lummi Nation, as when we partnered with them for a Tiger Grant application, was that we would move the landing over here because they need this area for processing, fish processing, crab and fish processing. And they told us that at the end of the lease, we need to be moved. One of the options would be to be over here. Queuing along here, maybe some parking and some additional queuing on this side of the road. Unfortunately, that still is about the same queuing size we have now, virtually no parking, certainly no additional parking than we have right now. So one of the ideas is alternative, so we have current alternative one where we certainly are now, alternative two, which is moving it over, alternative three is to actually purchase these homes on fee land, which would not require an uplands lease agreement with the Lummi Nation. And we could actually configure this to have a queuing lane, double, triple, or 4 lanes, also with parking through here. And we penciled out a couple of ideas as far as that goes to see whether, 2 lots, 4 lots, 5, whatever. And we have made option with all these property owners, an option to purchase the property. And we've made that offer to purchase an option from them. Not purchase the property yet because we haven't gone through the whole process. But we've approached all these folks as this is one of the ideas. One of the things that you all, or the vast majority of you all, have mentioned is parking on Gooseberry that is near where we are, that can be controlled and secure and available into the future. And not at whether or not they move the store or they develop this site or that site or anything else, or have to walk all the way down to get to the parking area. So the only place that's there is there. So we have taken the step, Public Works has taken the step to contact these folks, let them know of our, and that this is an idea. This has not been put forth as the alternative. This is an idea. We want to approach them and let them know to try and secure these properties for the future. So those are the alternatives. Where we go from here,
Put that in the middle there.
yeah. So you've seen different alternatives. We talked about different boats and how it'll address the concerns for level of service and moving the cars back and forth. We've begun to have the conversation with regard to the parking, restroom, and that sort of thing. One of the things also is having a waiting area and restrooms on Gooseberry. That alternative 3 would take care of that as well, and I forgot to mention that. But what we're going from here is to look at all of the operating costs and the different types of propulsion systems and the fuel cost, and start to pencil out now, what does this really mean to you? If you go with a smaller boat, what's the operation cost? If you go with a 34-car boat, What would be the operational cost? Because that's where your fares are gonna come into play. Whether it's $10 million or $12 million is a capital expense, and that's coming through the road fund and other funding mechanisms that Public Works is very, very concerned about. But, and I'm sure you all have great civil pride in being concerned about Public Works' budget. Thank you. But honestly, I'm sure you really don't care, because it is how much it costs to get home, I'm sure, is what you truly care about. So we're gonna make sure that KPFF is looking at that, so we can try our best to give an estimate. Well, the costs are gonna stay the same, it's gonna go up a little bit, down a little bit, I don't know what it's gonna be. Math, all right? I'm a geologist, an engineering geologist, and the math part is the part that got me the worst. So we're gonna let the intricate of accounting be done, so that at the next meeting, we can come back and say, okay, here's what we got. And this is the cost. And so your fare is currently this, and we anticipate it to be here, okay? Once we go through, we need to refine the capital costs, look at the regulatory considerations, and all of the things that we're gonna need to do for the terminal location. So on those alternatives, so where we go from here, after the county council, you all have voiced through your advisory committee your opinion as to the terminal on Gooseberry. If that is what we want to do, we need to go through an environmental impact statement to look at the three different alternatives. Staying where we are, moving it over, still on Lummi Nation property, or move it onto fee land. Each one has different environmental impacts. We'll look at it in the guise of how, where was it supposed to go? One of the things that you should know is for the marina to work, whether we stay where we are, move over a little bit, or move over a little bit again, there will be a breakwater, a panel breakwater constructed out here for the marina. So that's something that is going to take care of many of the concerns as far as the wave action and that sort of thing. There's also a possibility of negotiating with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and Lummi Nation that this part where we would be crossing and putting the docks, there's a possibility, it's certainly legally available and politically it's astute, to turn that into federal right-of-way. If that becomes federal right-of-way and not a lease, if we purchase this land and this becomes federal right-of-way, you're done. There's no more leases, ever. You're done. So that's the idea. I wasn't looking for applause, I just want to make sure you heard me. And I think Bill's recording it, so just check with him, so you got it right there. That's the idea. So we've been really trying to listen to get this down. Now, once we do the environmental impact statement, then you go back to the council, they review the impacts of each one, and then they make a final decision, yes, this is what we want to do. You still got to get the permits and all the shoreline permits, and everything else has to be done. So you're still talking 5 to 7 years, okay, to get this built. And that's as everything's moving along. It's still a ways out, okay? But still, if you don't look at the top of the mountain and try to get there, you'll just wander around in the valley all the time. So here's the goal, all right? So we want to outline all the funding options and the financial forecasts. Bring back all of that information to you, probably in May, and you'll have a different set of boards here. We're going to have the issues as far as fares, whatever information I can bring forward to update you on all of this, and having those conversations. At that point, the LIFAC needs to really hear anything else? Is this what you're looking for? Is there something else? Because their next job is to bring that together. We will help bring all that together. Then your representatives and you all that want to attend, and I would ask all of you to attend, if you think things are just gonna go your way at a council meeting and you wanna stay home, well, then you get what you've got. After the public meeting, we'll give it to LIFAC. LIFAC will bring it to the county council and say, here, this is what we want to do. The county council will then pass a new resolution. We're going to ask them to pass a new resolution. One that started this process was done a year and a half ago, I think. And the new one will say, yes, we want you to start the process. We want you to go here. We want you to have X size of boat. We want to make sure you have X number of parking spaces on Gooseberry. We want you to make sure you design a restroom there and whatever else is addressed in the level of service. I need that by the end of July because John, who was here earlier, my boss, is going to say to me, okay, now how are we going to get this in the budget? So during July and August, because I have to have it to John, my budget, in August. So that it gets adopted in September, October by the council so that we can start spending money in January. So if we miss our opportunity in May, then we miss our opportunity in June and July, which misses our opportunity in August, which misses our opportunity in September, which means we don't get it until like 6-8 months later. Which is why the LIFAC is really, really upset. Well, I shouldn't say upset. Maybe you are upset with me, but they hear from me often saying, gotta go, this is time. So here we are. There it is. It's going to be a fun ride. I hope you stick with it. Quite frankly, you're all shocked, maybe, but there we are. Nancy, I'll leave it to you.
Okay, that was a lot of information, and pardon me, Roland, I forgot to introduce him. He's a friend at this point, and he does special projects for Public Works. He's a Public Works employee. Many of you know him from previous projects out here. We're to the point where we can start the questions and answers. If you don't have questions by now, I'll be shocked and amazed. That was a lot of information, lots to think about. So now is your opportunity to do that. Please, when you ask questions, make sure it is a question and not a speech. Not a speech. Ask questions. There is a microphone back there. If people wouldn't mind going to the microphone so that everybody can hear, that would be great. Thank you.
If you can't go to the microphone, I will come to you. Just put your hand up. Then switch on.
Can someone please remind us where the population growth projections came from?
Yes, so our ridership forecast team looked at a number of different data sources. So OFM, Office of Finance and Management, I think it is. Yes, sorry. OFM data, Whatcom Council of Governments data, LIFAC data, Burke data. Burke was the one who did the comprehensive plan update, I believe. So all of those different data sources came into play for the population forecast. So what was forecast was was growth, but a slow, moderate growth. So we know population has been slowly increasing. So that's what our ridership forecasters came up with, what they estimated and included in their model. And I know Mike had a lot of good comments on that, and Charles, and there's been a lot of good work that's already been done on that. So did that answer your question?
I'm curious as to how many people on that map where all the orange is, how many property owners are impacted?
Here, there's 8 lots, eight people, yeah.
Okay. So, another thing that you said was there was gonna be some kind of breakwater structure.
Yeah, yes. So the breakwater structure is planned on being right from the property, the last house here, be straight out, right out through here. And it's a panel breakwater, so it's gonna be essentially piles with panels. So it's not gonna be a large rubble breakwater that you would see maybe in a very large marina.
So that has to be kind of negotiated with the nation, I would imagine.
It's actually the breakwater that they need for the marina.
That they would need.
They would
Okay.
need.
So they're, okay,
It's,
okay.
it's their proposal that we're tagging off on and utilizing to meet this need.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you want to take the?
You briefly mentioned two-lane loading. Is this a serious consideration? You were quite brief about it.
Yes, it is. Because especially if you go to a larger vessel, you want to be able to speed up the loading time. And a two-lane loading would be what we would be designing for Gooseberry. And actually, it would be beneficial that if we had extra parking area, like during dry dock, if we had 4 lanes that could be alternated, not by, as we have right now, where you just try to bounce your way in onto the boat, but actual automated gates that could be run. We may need to have a ticket booth or something on the mainland itself to help speed up with loading as well, as one of the things that we're looking into. But if you had 4 lanes, you had lanes A and B go this time, and those gates go up and they empty those out, and then the next run could go C and D. And that would actually provide more area during dry dock that we could restripe for parking. So that's what we're looking at for that.
Very good.
Do you have any idea at this point, with option number 3 for Gooseberry? You know, you mentioned that everybody wants more parking. What the impact would be on the vehicle demand associated with each of those cars? Because presumably there would be people who would prefer to park, not take their cars if they had a safe place to park. Has that been taken into any consideration yet?
It's a really good question, and I have asked that of our ridership forecasters, who would typically do what's called a stated preference survey to try and forecast what that demand would be. So it would be asking strategic questions of the community. I know you've all done a number of surveys, but these would be a little separate set of questions that would figure out how many people would actually shift their travel patterns to doing that. So that's not it's not really part of this effort, but it could be something to look into in the future.
You also have some data, because at one point we had more parking, and when the ferry fares for vehicles went up, and we had parking, there were people who took the option. So there is some data on having additional parking, and it's interrelated with fares.
You kind of answered my question, but what it had to do with was, when you say that our ferry down got 16, well, I think of it as 20, and you're saying 34, I'm thinking of 40, trying to collect in the 5-minute crossing, double the amount of cars, I don't understand if that's being looked at as far as,
Well, we're kind of
they
done.
barely get around now.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
20
that's-
cars, and you're gonna have to get one person get around with 40 cars.
I can't really speak, Rich is the operations person here, but what I can say is, it's not gonna happen. So,
No, it's not.
We've already gone beyond, if we thought it was gonna work or not. Yeah, we're beyond that. No, it's not gonna work.
So I think that the 3 people, could you already now have 4 people on busy times, right?
Yeah, currently, Thursdays or Saturdays.
So it's not gonna go, staying level of service is not 3 people. It's 3 to 4 right now. It's not gonna be, it can't be less with that price of many cars.
So,
No, what we're talking about is a person that is not actually part of the ferry system, but does not work on the boat. So they would actually be in a kiosk or a ticketing booth out here, and would also manage which lanes go at what time, so that you would pay your fares here and not try to scramble along to get them on the boat.
Okay, so that, and then, I just have one more question, had to do with, if you're looking at increasing the size, almost double, to meet the needs of the 4 to 7 time periods, does that really offset, and do you look at when there's 2 cars on the 11 ferry? Does the cost to meet the need of the 4 to 7 really justify having twice a bigger boat when there's only a few cars at 11 or 12 o'clock at night?
So I'll address that question first. A couple things. Number one is that remember that you are designing this for the life of the boat. So if it's a 40 or 60-year boat, you need to think about what's going to happen out in the future. The other part is if we're able to keep it at a crew of 3, which is probably your major operating cost, the fuel cost, even on a larger boat, would not be significantly more than the Watson Chief, and the maintenance cost would be significantly less. So when you get all done with the operating costs, and again, we haven't done those calculations yet, so this is just me talking off my experience, is that you will end up with something in a similar range. So you want to think about that. So this is truly the hardest choice that any ferry operator makes in the nation, is the right size of their vessel selection. You truly don't want it too big, but on the other hand, you don't want it too small, because it's not like a bus barn where you can just go grab the small bus when you need it and the big bus when you need it. You've got to pick a ferry that works all the time. And it's true, Washington State Ferries has 206 cars, and sometimes at night there's 4 on board. But they need to do that to meet the demand at those peak times and move people when they want to move. So that becomes sort of your customer experience or your lifestyle or what you want. So again, if you don't do that, you'll just have a longer queue during those busy times, and is that the experience that you want to continue to have? So those are questions you have to answer, not anybody else. So, you have to figure that out. I'll jump back in your previous question just real quickly. Just remember, technology is changing incredibly quickly, and it goes along with toll collections. Toll collection is done a lot in a number of places. That happens with, on the highways now, good-to-go passes that, basically automatically charge your vehicles. Or there's a number of ferry systems that basically you have to pre-purchase your ticket, whether it's at a kiosk at the facility, whether it's online, whether it's on your smartphone, however you do it. And then when you come there, all the attendant or the AV or the ordinary on the vessel has to do is validate it. And quickly, it's just a validated reader, and it's super simple, super quick. So I understand it's way different than what you have, if 34 or 40 cars, whatever you want to call it, was going across, it's so different than what you have today, but I have no doubt that technological solution can be found and inexpensively, so. There were some folks up here too, that for a while.
I just want, is it on?
Yep, it is.
Okay, I just have a quick, I don't know if it's even a question, sort of. In that purple area where you were talking about, what I was saying, I thought that the Lummi Nation had said that they don't want us there. They had given an ultimatum on that part.
No, it's actually right here, right across, is where the store area is going to be. So one of the things they proposed was they will be moving their store after that, we're going to build a new one. And then this would be available. So moving us over to where the store. So part of that would also be the timing, because They had hoped to break ground last summer, and that hasn't happened. So many things have changed with the Lummi Nation's priorities, so that hasn't happened right now. So that would be yet another thing we have to address, is the timing of that, even to move on this purple area as well.
Hello, Mike Speed in here. Can I ask two questions? The first one is, I want to thank everybody, KPFF and LIFAC, and especially Public Works. You guys have really stepped up to the plate on this and kept it moving. So Roland gets a lot of credit for me on that. In a previous version, I probably have this wrong. The ridership was based upon 135,000 cars in year 2040 carried. And I think that number was actually exceeded in year 1999, 2000, and 2001. There were more than 140,000 cars carried on the Wacom 17 years ago. And so we're out 40 years now from that. If those numbers are based on that very low assessment of what ridership is going to be, then I think the vote might even be too small for future projections, and we need to get this right. That's why I bring it up. The other thing is on the summary of options on cost, looking at $10 to $13 million for a 28 to 34 car ferry. Linus has just recently gone through this exercise with Boston Engineering for their 28 car boat, and they came up with a range of costs from 16 to 27 million for the vessel, not including dock improvements. There was 1.6 for the terminal built into that.
I thought the battery option was quite expensive, which was the
It
top
was.
23, right?
Yeah, I think it was in the 17 to 25 million dollar range.
You're right, yeah, so the low end here is the standard diesel.
Okay.
Yeah, but go ahead.
And so my point is that these are probably as cheap as it gets for a vessel. And when we start tinkering with electric ferries or hybrid ferries, those costs, because of the shoreside power, charging stations will go up considerably. So I just wanted to throw that out and ask the question. I didn't want to make a statement. Are you looking at those costs also?
Yes, and that will be part of the next, presentation. That will be part of the next presentation that we give. So yes, that's definitely part of what we're looking at, and coming up with cost estimates for. So you're right that this is more of the standard range, and so if you go full hybrid, or if you go full electric, that's a lot different. You're right, the shoreside infrastructure is much more expensive, and then you have to weigh the cost and benefit of your fuel savings or something like that over the long term. So we will be doing that in the next body work, so that's a great point.
So kudos to everybody. Thank you.
Stuart Rich, two questions. Do you have any information regarding the pedestrian capacity for these three sizes of boats? And secondly, has there been any consideration for projected growth of pedestrian capacity, especially during the summer months when we have increased tourism?
Yes, to part of that, we decided to focus on vehicles tonight, vehicle capacity. But part of the ridership forecast is looking at pedestrian increases, and there has been a trend upward, so we do have that information. And let's see, I hit on one of those points, and the vessel options also have passenger count as well. So that's part of the assessment, and so we will be able to see that once these documents become public. But sorry, we focused on the vehicles here. Yeah.
I guess I'll just add, from the design perspective, and that's why we focused on the vehicles carried will really dictate the vehicles you decide you want to carry will dictate the size of the vessel. The pedestrian platform can be provided here, and you'll be able to accommodate that for what either the growth projections are, or even if it exceeds that. So, I mean, there will be a limit, there'll be a COI on the boat at some point, and you'll decide what that's gonna be. All of these could be classified as T-boats, so they'll, more than likely, I would anticipate, and Rich can jump in, but I'm sure they're gonna be 150 or less. And again, that's another factor that leads to your crew size. The more passengers you carry, the more that you're gonna sort of trigger that point where you gotta add a crew member. So it's gonna be 150 or less, it might be 99, it could be 49, but it's probably not. I don't think that you have to worry too much about the pedestrians actually triggering a design change.
One thing I did want to step in on is that one of the things we're going to be asking the design for the new landing on Gooseberry, and then future modifications on the island side, would be to have the walkway separate from the roadway. So you may not be able to walk all the way and just get on a separate ramp, but getting everyone down closer to the vessel itself. So you're not having to walk down with the cars, 50 or 100 feet. You're actually right here, and you're walking right there, and having a separate area so that you're not in a travel way at all, and have an actual structure that you can wait in, and be able to then enter, and that will help speed up the loading process greatly as well. So that's one of the things that we've heard from the crew, and that is now a design issue that we have made as our standard for the landing.
I have a question. I would like to know, how realistically, how likely is it and how difficult will it be to get that piece of land over the tidelands declared federal right-of-way?
No one said no yet. So it gives us hope. It's legally available. One of the things that the Lummi Nation needs to do is, in the development and the improvements that they need to make for Fisherman's Cove, is to move Lummi Drive. Because they really need this area close to the shoreline for fish and crab processing, so that they can do it at home, not have to do it somewhere else and bring it back home. So part of that, we discussed a new right-of-way plan. And in that was included this new right-of-way. And at that point, of course, we were just discussing things as potential alternatives for the future. That was